Yo, what's going on, guys? And today I wanted to talk about who will the Detroit Pistons sign in free agency. So before we start today's video, as always, guys, I want to hear those lovely comments down below. And let's get right into today's video and let's talk about who will the Detroit Pistons be targeting in free agency. And if I remember correctly, the Detroit Pistons have about, I think it's an $8.5 million or $8 to $9 million mid-level exception. So with that being said, I think the position they should be targeting is the shooting guard position for or just shooting. Just shooting. I don't even think guard, just a shooter. And that's why I believe if they do draft Cade Cunningham, which isn't guaranteed because there are rumors that they want Jalen Green, but we're going to go with Cade Cunningham. There are so many lineup options as he's a versatile player who can play four spots and fit with just about anyone. A starting five of Cunningham, Hayes, Sadiq Bey, Jeremy Grant, and either Stewart or Plumlee is probably the most likely, which leaves the bench most likely going to be Josh Jackson, Demboya, Saban Lee, and whoever else they add. And if they do bring back Diallo, that'd be awesome because the free agents that they have this year are Dennis Smith Jr., who I doubt they resign, Wayne Ellington, who they'd like to resign, but he'll probably go to a contending team, and Hamidou Diallo, who another guy they would like to resign, but I could see someone throw money at him. So Saban Lee and Frank Jackson could come back. So with that being said, there's a lot of redundancy off the bench in the sense that they aren't very great three-point shooters. Josh Jackson, Diallo, Demboya, and Lee if Diallo stays. And if Frank Jackson stays, he isn't a great three-point shooter yet, but he's probably the best out of that bunch. So a guy like Doug McDermott would be perfect for this team who can spread the floor either starting or really coming off the bench, which makes more sense, with a bunch of slashers who can beat people off the dribble and get to the rim, and he just keeps being a threat from shooting. And I think he would be a great fit for them, Doug McDermott. They would definitely, I think, enjoy Troy Weaver has said that Pistons are unlikely to be big players in free agency. So the Pistons already have those long athletic defenders, most of them who can't shoot, but adding a guy who can shoot makes sense. He averaged 13.6 points, Doug McDermott, and is a 40%, over 40% three-point shooter, and he's a perfect guy to put around Killian Hayes and Jeremy Grant and Cade Cunningham. And yes, McDermott isn't a great defender, but he's 6'7", and he's shown himself to be comfortable in a type of complementary role, which he probably have in Detroit. And it's difficult to say what McDermott's price range is in free agency. He's 29, but it's probably going to be the mid-level exception. And I think right there they could afford him if they go for that. Now, it's 9.5. Sorry, at $9.5 million exception, they can probably do a 4-year, $41 million deal using the mid-level exception, or they could split that between a few players. And that's where I look at Tim Hardaway Jr. Obviously, Malik Monk would be dope, but Tim Hardaway Jr., another guy who, on his best days, he's a plus defender, and he's a guy who can put up points in bunches. You could probably move Killian Hayes maybe to the second unit, start Cade Cunningham, Tim Hardaway Jr., and maybe you could really even start Killian Hayes and have Cunningham play small forward if you wanted, and Killian Hayes and Tim Hardaway being the guards, Cade Cunningham being the point forward, and Jeremy Grant at power forward, and Isaiah Stewart or Plumlee at center. But what you get with Tim Hardaway Jr. is a guy who averages, yes, only half a steal a game, and not even a block a game. Dishes out 2 assists, 3.5 rebounds, but he shoots 39% from 3 this past year, 36 for his career, 45% field goal percentage, and he's a guy this past year averaged only 17 points, career 14-point game score. He's perfect, I think, to go into a role right there. He might be a little expensive if you're trying to also get our boy we were just talking about that I'm blanking on his name, Doug McDermott. You might have to do Doug McDermott and a guy like Malik Monk, who obviously he isn't Tim Hardaway Jr., but he could fall in the same vein. He's a little shorter. Tim Hardaway's 6'6", Malik Monk's like 6'4". I'd say 6'3", but he's got a big wingspan, and he put points up in bunch. He had a great stretch in a few games where he looked like he was a 20-point scorer, and he shot 40% from three this year. Yeah, he only played 42 games, and he hasn't ever played a full 82. So there's some questions there, but they could get him cheap. Okay. Then the other guys that they could really, take a gander at are guys like Austin Rivers, maybe. Austin Rivers would be a guy who would definitely help them out more than not help them out. But it really comes down to what this team wants to do and where they want to go. Like, do they want to try to contend, make an Atlanta Hawks type jump, which is very feasible with the roster that they have, especially having the first pick. They could be a playoff team as soon as tomorrow. Now, that comes down to if that's what they want and that they feel comfortable, because they do have some veteran players to just plug and play these young guys that they have developing right there and then. So, it brings up a lot of questions because, like I said, your starting lineups are going to be Jeremy Grant, Killian Hayes. Sadiq Bey could even start. That's another thing. You could do, my guy, if you bring in one of these like McDermott or Tim Hardaway, either of that guy's going to play shooting guard. You really do Cade Cunningham. In this sense, we'll do Tim Hardaway Jr., small forward Sadiq Bey, power forward Jeremy Grant, center Isaiah Stewart. Then you have Mason Plumlee. Also, Corey Joseph's on their books. So you have Mason Plumlee, Corey Joseph, Killian Hayes, Rodney McGruder. Corey Joseph, is he still on this team? I didn't know that. Did not know Corey Joseph was on this team. Sorry about that, guys. That just blew my mind. But yeah, and there's multiple guys that they could benefit from playing. Like, I think, honestly, their bench, Josh Jackson, Demboya, Plumlee, they have Jahlil Okafor, they have that guy, Servedius. Can someone tell me how to say his name, Servedius? He's the European guy. Killian Hayes. They have a lot of guys off the bench. They really just need to bring in, I think, a scorer or a shooter to open the floor up for everybody. And in that case, I think they'd be fine. But yeah, so I want to hear your guys' thoughts. This super lengthy Detroit team, what they need to do to get back to the promised land is how some might say it. But yeah, let's hear those thoughts, guys. I definitely want to hear, what do you guys think the Detroit Pistons need to do to get back to the promised land? So yeah, that's it for me, guys. Hope you guys did enjoy. Puppies. Ow.